Now make sure that the sides of the nail tip are not fat in here. Make sure that it has been blended down into the nail walls nice and narrow. On both sides. And that there's no seam line. The seam would normally be up here, but this tip already has some acrylic on it, so I'm just beveling it down. So we're putting on a bonding agent, letting that dry so that the nail is nice and flush, the tip. And then I would put on a primer on the natural nail, which most likely would be right the top half, the base of the nail plate will only have the tip showing halfway. Now if you're putting the tips all the way back, that could cause a problem on them sticking really well. And then on nail biters that have a short nail, so then I would actually do a sculptured nail on a nail biter, because that will bond into their nail a whole lot more securely than a nail tip will. A nail tip will pop off really easily. I'm going to coat this nail with a double dark pink, which is kind of just a soft pink actually, and it's a little bit translucent, but not too much colored as the deep pink is. Deep pink will show up a whole lot more. It's more like a this is double dark pink, I think it is. Deep pink. So deep pink really shows up pink. So maybe I will use that just so it shows more for you. And then we also have a full coverage pink. This is Nail Light's Omega system, which is really good. The full coverage pink is like a ballet pink, and that really does cover. It's full coverage, and it's a ballet, a peachy pink. Very pretty color. So I'm going to show you my working dappen dish. Make sure you have enough powder that you can actually dip your brush into it. It's not going to hit the bottom. This is getting a little bit low. So first we're going to soak up our brush and make sure that the reservoir gets totally wet so that you have enough liquid to make a creamy medium wet ball, because when we put the formula, the acrylic, over the nail tip, we're going to start in the middle. Don't start at the back. It should be, sculpting will be at the tip, like a white tip or a sheer or a beige tip, if you're not already applied plastic nail tip extensions. But we already have a nail tip extension on, or let's say it's her own long nail, you could use this same technique for an overlay. So we saturate our brush, wipe it on the dappen dish always, at least once. According to how big your brush is, you will get practiced up and know how much liquid your brush holds and whether you're going to need it really wet. So wipe it once or wipe it twice or 3 times to squeeze out the extra formula of the monomer, the liquid. So I'm going to wipe once, twice, and then I'm going to dip just the tip in to pick up a nice sized ball of formula of acrylic. So not too wet, so it's medium wet. And then I'm going to roll off the tip. And then before, I'm going to maybe just wipe the acrylic off, and then right away with the root of the brush, you notice how I'm using the back of the brush where the silver part is to pat that down right away so that it's melting into the nail plate. And then I'm going, it's a little bit dry and for this, but anyways, I've worked it out. So then I'm stroking it forward to coat the entire nail tip extension. And then wipe your brush in an X, and as you do that, twirl it so that it pulls out the extra acrylic in the brush and keeps it from hardening. Also use Bounty paper towels or a real terry cloth square or an old towel, because then that will pull it out of your brush. So you can see how this is melted into the nail plate. It's already done and dried. What's happening is if I was to have rolled off and pushed it back and then worked on the front, this is all going to dry with an air pocket underneath it. And you might be able to finally bevel it out or thin it out with filing, but it's up here that I left while I was talking about what I was doing. So look at your nail from all the different angles. So you can see it's a little bit flat here. And now this is the second ball, which would be the one that's supposed to be wettest and smallest and more easy to control, easier to melt into the nail plate around the cuticle line. So I'm going to just wipe it once, pick up a smaller amount of acrylic. So I have a smaller ball like this. And I'm going to roll and twist it off of that tip, and right away I'm going to let it melt down gently just by guiding it. So see how you're getting a nice flow. It's going to adhere to the nail plate. I'm not pushing it. Once it starts to form and dry, you can't make it bond to the nail plate. You have to do that in the first ball, the first twist off. So now a smaller one right around the cuticle line. And I'm looking from above so I can see I'm not pushing it in, but I'm just allowing it to flow in front of the cuticle. And then wipe my brush so I get a nice clean brush and then a smooth pull. Flowing it just over the tip, but it's all secure. It's all clean around the cuticle. Take your orange wood stick, pointing it towards the client, away from you, and take that nice clean pointed edge of the orange wood stick and go from the center back one side nail groove and down the other side. And then you see how I scooped out a little bit. Take the knife edge of your brush and just go around to make sure that it's melted in and beveled down with that knife edge out of the cuticle, but thinly at the base of the acrylic area. So if you do it like that, then you won't have air pockets underneath as compared to when you're pushing the product down. Let me show you the wrong way to do it. Is grab a big ball of product of acrylic and it's kind of too dry, and then when I roll it down, I'm going to start to like work with it down here, and I'm going to push this back. Oh, I got too much. I can't even do it wrong, but I'm trying to do it wrong. So all of this would start to dry. Let's do another ball just to show you. See if I can do a wrong nail here. So pushing it down, and then I'm going to like work on the tip and leave the back. And now I'm going to try to push it back. But you know what's happened is in the first 5 to 10 seconds is the acrylic has started to harden and polymerize, and there's no way you're going to push that back enough and get it melted down unless you're really an expert like I am at getting your brush wet enough. But it starts to formulate and harden right away. So you're ending up with all this air pocket underneath against the nail plate. And all you're doing is working on the surface then. And the underside is not melted or bonded in. So this is what I saw a lot of mistakes being made, in that they're working with these balls of acrylic from the front side rather than the back side. So they're working with them from here, and then after it started to dry a bit, they're going to try to push it back and get it in all these crevices, but it's already started to polymerize and harden and cure, so you're going to end up with air pockets and lumps and bumps and a lot of wasted time on filing afterwards to get a thinned out nail. And it's really going to pop off much easier because it's got air underneath. It's not melted into the nail plate. All right, so I hope that helps. This is what it should look like. This is what it shouldn't look like. And If you have any questions, be sure that you put a comment and like and subscribe to my Costi Beauty tutorials, and I'm happy to help you out. Here's a little tip after you've been working with acrylic. Do you ever get that acrylic that gets stuck all and hardens in the body of the nail? Well, that happens to everybody. But a little trick that will help you is to use Bounty paper towels or real terry cloth towels and cut them up into squares so that you don't waste and you wreck the whole towel, but just little squares, and then make that your little wiping area for your acrylic brush. I call it like a brush mat, and make it in an X shape. As you're twisting and rolling that brush, the Bounty or the terry cloth fibers are going to pull out all that acrylic so it doesn't dry and harden in your brush. And then take your orange wood stick after you've dipped in the last time of the monomer and done the same, and then you can scrape out and see if there's any hardened areas, hardened acrylic spots in your brush. And once that seems to be fairly clean, take your cuticle oil. This is my favorite one. It's a Moore cuticle oil. It smells like pineapple and mango. And just oil your brush, because by the time you use it again, it's going to be all dried up and soaked into the bristles, and it will keep your brush to a nice point. And if there's any last traces of the acrylic in your brush, it's going to be easy to just slide right out any of those acrylic lumps and bumps. Also, keep your acrylic in your jar fairly full. This one's getting too low, and what I find is a problem is your brush will hit the bottom or the glass, and then you'll get lumps of acrylic in your powder. So always keep your powders full so that you don't need to touch the edges or the bottom of your acrylic containers. All right, see you next time. Like my page and on Facebook, and subscribe to me for Costi Beauty tutorials.